Hello, we are now live. That is our new intro. A little shocking
To the
first,
point.
I know.
Straight to the point.
Yeah, we are.
There's a new sheriff in town.
Yeah.
I like
I
it.
don't actually believe that was intended as a Peyton Manning reference, although I suppose it is somewhat fitting. But anyways, guys, that's the new intro for the show. We're going to be tweaking it ever so slightly, I think, as we go forward. But I do think that it was time for a change. And what more fitting episode to release a brand new intro than to do so on our anniversary episode of 1 year on air together, doing the Wild Wild West.
Boom. Fitting.
I thought that was. I thought that's pretty cool. A very, very nice milestone for the show.
Yeah. We're doing a clip show, right? It's the 100th episode, so isn't that what we do?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Sorry, guys. Let me hit play on the clips, and I'm just gonna go get some food. No, just kidding.
It's here is an hour clip of Captain showing his ass. Here we go.
Right.
Hey, I haven't shown my ass in a while, but I can always do it. And then,
honestly, would that not make for a great clip? That would honestly and truly going through the previous episodes and doing like the ass shots.
Yeah.
We have more than enough footage.
I honestly think we have over 60 minutes of footage.
We have way more than enough footage for
we could do a film
dancing.
A montage, man, an ass montage.
we probably have a good 5 minutes of you just talking out of your ass.
Yeah.
Everyone asks us a bunch of questions, and here is
Right.
Captain Jack.
There you go.
So, anyways, guys, we have a great episode for you tonight. Our primary topics for the show, we want to make sure we hit you up with some additional draft stuff as we start getting through the pro days and nearing the NFL 2023 draft. We want to start talking about some of those later round picks. That's a nice one. Oh, where's that from?
It still has the Invicta band on it too.
So does that mean you stole it?
Oh.
No, I actually bought it.
Oh, okay.
It came in the mail
So
today. Now, I have several Invicta watches, but
so
they
ice.
are friggin'
so icy.
They are like bricks. And I wanted to, and I said, oh, this one is, like a basic regular men's watch, which is cool. So the Invictas are nice, but they're, you can, Alex, if I was to use them and put them here and hit somebody with them, it'd probably be, lethal with a deadly weapon type of shit, because they got a lot of weight to them. So this is your basic everyday men's watch, but it was, it's sharp. Wanted to show that as well.
Well, we have a fan, Alex, in the chat. Thought we'd go ahead and.
At least it's not someone calling me smug, so we haven't gotten to that point yet.
Well, Fast Eddie is the guitarist for my intro. So
Van?
the what is it? The Autumn Wind intro, the guitar. That's Fast Eddie, and he's the guitarist.
Shredding. Okay.
Shredder, baby.
Shreddy Eddie, which is great. But so, guys, we're going to talk about some late round draft picks on the show. We're going to dig into a little bit of AFC West news, NFL news, and get into any other topics about our teams that you guys would like to delve into. My original. Jeez. We're getting some great comments in the chat here, guys. Keep them coming in as well. Coach, I guess we'll throw over to you first. Being the last one into the room here today, we'll throw over to you first to talk about your Chargers. I know that there's been a lot of kind of news recently about the Chargers. I know that there's been a lot of information that's been thrown out about kind of perhaps the direction the Chargers are going to go in the draft. Looking later in the draft, though, with what is seemingly being discussed by most Chargers media as you need depth. So what better spot to get depth in the later rounds of the draft? Over to you in terms of your thoughts.
Well, I mean, there's news there, about current players. There's news about the draft. I mean, there's a lot going on in Chargers world. You would think that it would be a kind of a lull in news at the moment, waiting for the draft. However, no shortage of news. I think I want to start with actually talking about Austin Eckler real quick before I get to the draft. It was a report came out. Last night, this morning-ish, about his intentions and when it comes down to his contract extension. It's a harsh reality when it comes down to running backs in the league right now. I mean, let's just be honest and be clear about it, right? He wants to be paid. He's in a rough spot, to say the least. He's definitely in a rough spot. He's 28. He's been highly productive the last couple of years. When it comes down to touchdown production and things of that nature, been a really good running back from a receiving running back perspective. So he wants to be paid. There's reports that the Chargers tried to negotiate with him before last season, during the season, and even up to now, where they tried to hammer out an extension for him. And to my assumption, and much of anybody else's assumption, that he doesn't like the offer the Chargers are giving him. He wants to be paid in the upper echelon of running backs. I guess in the lower of your Christian McCaffreys, your Dalvin Cooks, Derrick Henry-esque, although I don't, that's a whole nother conversation when it comes down to money, but not even production, just money. He's probably one of the highest paid running backs in the league. So, it's a rough time for running backs. I mean, like I said, we talked about this at length in the last 2 weeks, where the running back market is barren. It's rough. I mean, you're talking about the highest contract that was received from a running back in free agency this past year was $16.5 million a year, which he's currently making. That's what he's currently making right now. So to ask for more money, at 28, at a position that's constantly being replaced, the likelihood of people getting a secondary contract for the team that drafted him is unlikely. It's a rough spot. Now, granted, I like Austin Eckler, and he's a really good guy. I think he's a really good a weapon to have, no matter who has them. And he said, he wants to remain a Charger and things of that nature. But, it's just one of those things where you go to, it's like going to your job and asking your boss for a raise when we're in a recession, or profits are down. It's one of those things. So it's a rough time to be asking for, big time money when, again, the market isn't bearing that particular number that you're asking for. So, he said that the worst case scenario, he will play his contract out, which will be one more year this year. He may move on. And the unfortunate, issue, again, he'll be 29 at that point. And who's going to play big time money for a back that, quite honestly, again, no knock on him. He's a great guy. He's a great person. He's a UDFA. He came up through the ranks. He earned all his stripes. But he's going to be a 29-year-old, 200-pound running back.
Who go to Houston.
Who doesn't run the ball particularly well, between the tackles. Now, you can argue who the fault that is. Is on the offensive coordinators, the O-lines, condition. There's a bunch of things you can factor in for the fact that he isn't, being really productive as a running back. Now, he's a hell of a receiving back, but yet again, how much money are you going to really pay for a guy that's made his money and made his name off of catching the ball out of the backfield versus it being handed it to him? So, I'm hoping that, he can stick around, he can remain a Charger, but I would look to the idea that the Chargers may go, that's going to lean into the idea of what we might draft, getting a running back in the mid rounds to air quote replace him when he's done after this year. Because if we can't come to terms at this point, and it's been speculated that they told him, assuredly that if he can find a trade somehow, some way that we're going to give them fair market value back, then they would make the move and trade him. So, it's just a rough time, for running backs in period, and him and being a Charger from day one. It's just rough to see him go through that. But like I said, your team, the running back market is in a recession, and you're asking for big money. That's kind of a rough ask.
Who's going to trade for him knowing what he wants to be paid, right?
Exactly.
So it's like, who wants to give up any sort of capital for 1 year, right, and then be in the same boat? Like, I don't know what he thought he was doing, trying to trailblaze the market by the
NBA is the type the type of league where they would give up a first round pick for a guy that they have to resign for big money. They don't do that in the NFL. You know, either I give up a small amount of draft capital, be a low round pick, and I pay him, or I don't have to pay him, but then I give up a higher draft pick. Like, look at Jalen Ramsey. Jalen Ramsey went for like a third rounder. You know, he's one of the top corners in the league. So, you know, you gotta understand that, you know, it's just a rough time to, you know, he's just in a bad spot. Like he just happened to have the bad luck of coming to the league at the wrong time. You know, I mean, had he been productive like this 3 or 4 years ago, he'd have got paid, no question.
Well, and he was kind of like early on, wasn't he? Like playing timeshare with Gordon.
Right. Yeah. So Gordon was Gordon was a first round pick, and he was productive. So they were just splitting carries. And then when Gordon's contract came up, and then he got to the idea of paying Gordon, and Gordon basically overplayed his hand as well, wanting more money than the market bared. He walked, and we leaned on Eckler. We signed Eckler to an extension while Gordon's contract was in the works. So you know, it's one of those things where, you know, it's ugly, it's business, and, you know, it's not, you know, you have to look at it from a perspective. It's not personal. You know, it's just not personal. You have to do good business in certain aspects, and that's where it lands.
It's not personal. It's a business.
Right. Big business.
Take the office.
Yeah. So, you know, that's one thing. And then this DeAndre Hopkins rumors came out earlier today. And I'm
everyone's rumored to him now, man.
Yeah, I mean, he's another one. Like, he's got a high salary. He got a high salary, so nobody's gonna
get cut.
Yeah, he's not gonna get paid. He's not gonna get traded for that high of a salary. Like, the people will rather wait you out, especially because he's 31. Wait you out, let you cut him, and then I'll sign him for something that I can afford.
Yeah,
you know, because unless he comes in talking about massively restructuring his deal, then the likelihood of him being traded by anybody is slim. So, you know, and I would say, again, a 31-year-old receiver is not something that you need to marry a young quarterback to. Let's just be honest.
Actually, yes and no.
You already got that with Keenan Allen.
I was going to say yes
and no. In our situation, yes.
And no.
Yeah, and holistically, no, but in our situation, yes. You should not marry a young quarterback when you already have one. We already have one. So, yes. So, in our situation, yes. So, yeah, I wouldn't do that.
My point was you didn't add the right caveat to your comment. And I think you didn't. So, I had to... Right. No.
Yeah, right. Yeah, in our situation, I was speaking about our situation. Yes. Yeah. So, and going towards the draft, like I believe that you know, to your guys' point, y'all alluded to the fact that we need depth, of course. And I would say that what the strategy should be, and I think I've kind of alluded to this when we talked about this over the last few weeks, is that, you know, we should go offense early and defense late. Like, I think that's something
like going ugly early.
What?
Is that like going ugly early, and then you get it out of the way, and then you can pick up the hotties later in the night because you already scored with ugly early?
Nah, I think you go pretty early.
What kind of evenings are you having? Damn.
No, we're not in the club. We're not playing. We're not drafting like we're in the club. I'm sorry.
No, I'm just saying, if you go pretty early, that's why Coach goes home alone a lot. Whereas guys of renown, like kind of like the old thing, let's go run down and he said, no, let's walk down and F them all. It's those bits of added.
I'm sorry.
Where is this going?
I don't know. It came completely out of left field. I mean, what are we talking about here? We're talking about draft strategy, not the club, Pap. Let's talk about the club later, okay? I don't draft like I'm at the club, okay? That's a whole different conversation, okay? That's a whole different conversation. I don't draft.
I just heard early. That's
you heard early, and you had to jump in with the ugly girl reference. I understand. How have you operated your business? How have you operated your business? How I draft is a whole
your
different
weekend is your weekend, Cat.
Exactly. You know.
Your Friday night, that's you.
That's you. So if you want to knock down 4 4s and instead of 1 8, that's your business. That's your business.
No, 2 4s does equal an 8.
No, it doesn't. No, it does not. No, it does not. It does not. No book, nobody's book but yours. It's not basic math. When it comes to that, it's not basic math. Sorry.
Well, let's put it this way.
2 5s don't make a 10.
The way that the kids are educated nowadays, they would say 4 4s would equal an 8. And I'm like, yeah, because they can't add for shit.
Well, yeah, that's a whole nother conversation for another day.
Right. That's right.
But yeah, I definitely not knocking down 2 4s early in the night. I'm not doing that. You know, you would go after the prime real estate in the club, and if she's not game, then you pick up the drunk stragglers late.
funnel down.
There you go.
You don't
there you
funnel
go.
up.
Right. And as the
You don't
drinks
fight
go
against
up,
the
your
stream.
standards go
Yeah.
down. The drinks go up, your standards go down. That's how you operate.
But the point is, Coach, I don't drink. So I maintain. I don't drink.
Well, let's
You guys are going,
let's put that.
hey,
Let's be clear about that. You don't drink a lot. You do. You've never not had alcohol
Yeah,
though. You don't drink
We've
regularly.
seen you.
What-
We've seen
true,
you take shots
but
on the
When
show.
I'm at a club, I don't drink.
Right. You're not
I don't
alcoholic.
drink. Yeah.
You're not alcoholic.
No,
You're drunk.
seriously, I don't
Alcoholics got to go to meetings. I understand.
Right. the weekly, hey, what's my name and what's my,
Right. Hi, my name is
Bill.
Captain Jack, and I have a drinking problem.
Hi, Captain.
Hi, Captain. Yes. So getting back on
to the
task.
Chargers draft
Right.
strategy,
Getting back on task.
Yeah.
Right. Getting back on task. I would say again, like I said, go pretty early, pretty offense early. I want the shiny receiver. I want the shiny tight end. I'm on a shiny running back, and then I want to get, some nice depth in my interior D line, some nice depth in my secondary, and maybe a inside linebacker to groom with Eric Kendricks at late. That's the positions in the area that I want to go get around in later drafts. So
what I just heard is that you're going TNA early, and then you're trying to wife up someone later in the draft. Is that about it?
I wouldn't say wife up. I mean, you might take her home. I mean, we're not talking marriage here. You got it. Baby steps. Got a baby step. You got a baby step.
I got the rag ready, baby. I got the towel ready.
Hey, last week it was KY.
Right, now it's the towel. Right. We know what you do on
KY
that.
towel. It's a rag.
KY in the towel. We know what you do off air.
This towel is, and I won't show what's on the other end of the towel because
you notice it's white, so it doesn't give any evidence, right? You notice it's white towel. He's a professional.
This is a towel I got from another YouTube channel where I won't give this person even a look, but it's an S towel just in case I need something in here, but it does do the job. But I won't.
Where is this going?
Right,
You say, hold on. I just want to make sure the record's clear. You said it's an S towel.
Yeah, because I've already said shit 3 times now.
4.
No, 3.
Oh, that was the third. That was the third. I'm sorry. That was the third. My bad.
That's why I said S now. I know how to count. I'm not one of these kids in school, damn it.
So you keep that in your back pocket in emergency so you have to use your sock.
No, I got a happy sock from my naval career, but that's a long time ago.
Jeez. Woo! I tell you.
So, how about that football in the draft?
Yeah. So as I reiterate, pretty early, grind and gritty late. Offense early, defense late. I would, if I had to put a position on the first 4 to 5 rounds, I would say wide receiver, tight end, running back, D-line, corner. That would be my first 5 in the first 5. Linebacker 6.
Oh, you're going linebacker 6.
Yeah, I think there's some, because clearly the quality ones are going to go in the first 3 rounds, right? And we can't reach that high. There you go. And there you go. Is that ref? Is that ref?
Yeah, that's ref.
That's ref. Yeah. MHTR after dark. That's it, baby. So I would say definitely linebacker because there's some I want to call them projects, but there's some solid linebackers that we can get late. Your Ventrell Millers, your why is his name escaping me? He was just in the national title game. He plays for TCU. Oh man, I've been talking about him for weeks.
Yeah, that guy.
That guy.
Yeah. We're gonna pick him twice.
Yeah, that guy.
Right. Yeah, but
I do agree with this comment, by the way.
What's that?
Kevin O'Shea.
And
we
need to reach out for KY
yes, we
for
do.
sponsors. I mean,
if they're paying, we're down.
Oh yeah. And the great news is you can just simply slide in the ads after the show.
Yeah, there you go.
I think the way we do it is Cap just needs to every once in a while just start talking about KY, and then we just send them in and say, "Here's our bill."
I need the money. Okay, and so I'll be fair. If we get a sponsorship from KY, I'm taking half, and you guys can get the other half. I think that's fair. I'm taking half because I'm the one that introduced it, and you guys can do 1/3 of half.
I mean, if we're gonna get technical, we gotta give.
Were you doing half of the product they supply or half the money they supply?
Well, the thing was Raiders 07's idea. We got to cut him in.
Who?
Yeah.
Cut who in?
The thing was Raiders 07. It was their idea to bring up the KY endorsement.
I will send him a Captain Jack beanie with the full neck beanie. Show him, Richie. You got one, right? Look at this. This is a quality product. If you can wear it right.
Oh, what?
Where's the logo? Oh, it got stuck. There we go.
See? Look at that.
There you go.
That is a hand knitted beanie with the Captain Jack patch on it.
Now we've turned this into an Antique Roadshow. Call in now. The beanie, $24.99.
There you go.
If you call in the next 10 minutes, you get a second one free.
We'll waive the shipping. We'll waive the shipping.
Yeah,
we'll waive the shipping. There you go.
So I guess now we can kind of move on and say, you're basically saying that you're going to move like defense and kind of interior line, that kind of stuff later in the draft.
Yeah,
with that in mind,
interior period, a safety or corner, depending on what's more available. Okay. Inside linebacker and D-line. Yep. Interior D-line. Yep.
So who are some prospects that you are thinking may fit what you run? Keeping in mind, I know largely the type of defense, by and large, that your coordinator, also known as your head coach, it wants to run.
Mm-hmm. Well, for inside linebacker, D. Winters is the guy. I don't know why I couldn't think of his name. D. Winters from TCU. He's one guy that I think he's going to be there late. He definitely showed up and showed out in the playoffs in the last go round of the college football championship. So he's definitely very good for stopping and running, very good blitzing linebacker. So I think he can mold into give him a year or two. I think he can mold into a good inside linebacker. Another guy, I guess, that Ventrell Miller is another inside linebacker that I've been looking at. He's out of Florida. He's a 6 foot, 232 pound, and he's a stud. Yeah, he's a good one. I think he might fall into later round. So I think I like him. I'm also like a guy by the name of
on ball or off ball.
Off ball. Yeah.
Off ball.
Okay. Inside linebacker. Yeah, middle inside linebacker.
Okay.
Muhammad Diabate from Utah as well. 6'4", 222 pound linebacker is another guy I'm targeting later in the draft. That could be good for us. Him. Yeah, so
he actually played at Florida before he went to Utah, and he's a stud too.
I like that guy. I like he's got a good mix. He's got a good size, good height, length, that kind of stuff. And he is a little on the raw side.
Mm-hmm.
Like a little bit on the side where he needs the development. So I think he's a good kind of mid-late pick for you guys.
Right, good project. As somebody you can develop, over the course of time. But those main guys I'm talking inside linebacker. Corner, it's a guy that I've been watching, and I think that he might fall, although he had a great combine. But he's not being, highly touted in a lot of people's, mock drafts and things of that nature. He's the other corner. He's not the main corner from Maryland, but he's the secondary corner outside of what's the kid's name? The name's escaping me as well. Banks, outside of Banks. Banks is going to be a first rounder. But the kid, Jacorian Bennett, 5'11", 188 pound. Yeah. 5'11", 180 pound, 4.3 speed corner who's very physical, 22 years old, very physical corner. So I like him in the later rounds. And there's another guy, another couple of corners. Jamie Robinson is another guy I'm looking at. If that's could be maybe a 3rd or 4th round pick for us if he falls. I like him. He had a very good.
Jamie.
Right. From East West Bowl. East West Bowl. Jamie. So from the East West Bowl. But Jamie Robinson from FSU, I like him. He's a good prospect as well. I think he's going to be a really good pro. Very, very subtle. Like he's not. He doesn't jump off the charts numbers wise, but I think he's a very solid physical safety. I think he can be in a box or cover safety, no matter what you want to do with him. He runs like lightning. He has a 4.5 40 at a safety spot, so that's really fast. A little bit over 200 pounds. Yeah, a little bit over 200 pounds. So yeah, I think he's gonna be a star. I really do. And going back to corner, I do like Jatavius Martin as well from Illinois. He's a 6 foot one, almost 200 pound corner, 195. Jumped out of the gym at combine with a 44-inch vertical at 6 foot, 4'4", 40. Him and DJ Turner, clearly, you know, they're guys I think they might fall a little bit, and they run like lightning because DJ Turner turned in a 4'2", 40. I do like him as well. So I think those are the guys mainly from a corner and the linebacker perspective that I think that we can maybe get our hands on on the third day of the draft for sure. Is anybody's guess about as far as D lineman is concerned? Because I'm not sure how people value interior D linemen. I mean, everybody values edge, obviously, right? Everybody loves edge, right? It's a deep edge draft, but I think that how they value interior linemen or guys that's kind of hybrids, like the guy that got a real deep pressure on that I'm not sure he's going to make it out of the first round at this point. They even marking him as high as the Chiefs getting him at 32 or 31, if you want to count numbers here. But my guy Adetomi Adebawore, from Northwestern, yeah. So I think he might have.
I'm sorry, could you say that again, just a little faster, please?
I had that yesterday. I had it perfect yesterday. I tried to get it right. They called him Tommy. Actually, they called him Tommy. It's part of his middle part of his first name. They called him Tommy Adebawore. I know his last name. His first name I always mess up, but his last name is Adebawore. So Tommy Adebawore. We want to say that. We'll call it like that. Tommy Adebawore. He might be a late first round pick. So if you don't get your hands on him early,
combine warrior.
Oh man,
so,
I mean, listen, his tape is better than his combine.
Yeah,
and what's nice about him,
a 4.5 at like 290 and.
4.5? No, sir. No, he ran a 4.4. Yes.
Yeah.
He ran a 4.4 at 280 pounds.
Yeah.
So
basically clowning.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm a little over 200 and I run a 4.2.
In
4 weeks, 2 days.
I agree. Saying what, the 10-yard dash?
4.2 minutes.
4 weeks and 2 days, baby.
There you go. So yeah, I think he's gonna sneak up into the first round. I think that even if he has a second round grade, I think somebody might trade up this debate to get him in the first round and get that fifth year on him. I think they might actually do that. So yeah, but I definitely got a man crush on him for sure. But again, it's eerie about how they value interior linemen. Like the guy Siaki Ika from Baylor. And we talking about a run stopping monster,
big dude, like
Samoan dude, 358 pounds. Oh man. Yeah, he's just try to block it. That's all I'm gonna tell you. Just try to block
you better hope that the Chargers. You better hope that the Chargers don't get these guys whose names you can't pronounce, because we're gonna have you do it every friggin' week.
Listen, it took me a year to get Tito Ojinobi's name right. So hey, give me time, baby. Just give me time. Like to the guy in the stall to say to the guy waiting. Just give me time, baby. What's that?
Ojinobi is an easy last name, but some of those other names you just said were just absolute. They need to change their last name to Smith.
Right. Yes. Siaka Ika. I did get Siaka Ika's name right the first time. I did get that one right. Tommy Adebawore. I'm on that one now. So and another guy, Maury Ojami from Texas. If that name sounds familiar, he's another one.
Another Jammy Jam. Okay.
Another Jammy Jam. So
I was just about to say,
you took mine actually.
Oh, I did.
So, Coach, just to let you know and to let the audience know, he's on my list for the Broncos in that late round kind of mix. For me, he's got some great mixed skill sets there. I have him as my alternative for the Broncos, but I just to kind of call out the fact that you and I are clearly in the same page in terms of looking at certain skill sets as it comes to the interior D line.
Absolutely. And a guy who I think is a sleeper that nobody's talking about, this is the last one I got. Gervon Dexter, senior from Florida. He's a beast.
Florida.
I know all them Gators. I know all them Gators at least.
Wait a minute, how the heck is he senior? He's only like 20 something.
He just had a kid.
Right.
I think they just do that.
Right. I think they do that in lieu of them having a son, so they automatically name him a junior, so they call themselves senior already. So yeah. But Gervon Dexter, definitely a guy that's gonna be wow people from the interior. I think he's gonna be good as well. And nobody's really talking about him. Yeah. Nobody's really
I feel
talking
like
about
there's a lot of interior guys that aren't getting a whole lot of hype because it seems like more and more defenses are going away from that, and more teams are having a lot more passing down, like their passing down packages in, or bringing pressures from a nickelback or something, and not necessarily needing the like traditional, 350-pound run stuff.
Correct.
So it's kind of like it's like fullback, right? It's kind of like a dying breed.
Right.
Like every year seems to dwindle.
Yeah, it's funny that you say that because we actually talked about this last night on Sports Talk with Coach Kurt and I, that, when you talk about personnel and how you draft and how you attack things, it's staunchly different from years past. And people are more so drafting because teams are coming out in 11 personnel, which means 3 receivers, 4 receivers in certain cases, one tight end, no tight end, 10 personnel. They're not, they're coming out in, 3 or more receivers on first down, more so now than they ever had. So when you match the personnel, you play more nickel than ever now.
Mm-hmm.
Like you probably spend 60 to 70% of your snaps in nickel. Your base packages aren't getting used as much on first and second down as they used to.
Right.
Like think about like past drafts, right? Like your Warren Sapps and your, like all those big body, like Vince Wilforks, those types of guys that were like surefire first round picks, 5+ years ago. And now it's like, I don't know if any of those guys would be valued that high just because it's like a different game.
Right.
That's why to me, game changers in the NFL though.
What's that?
So let's say I agree with you because I do in terms of going to nickel package so often in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
Who are the biggest game changers on most teams in the NFL and in the Super Bowls that we've seen these past years by and large?
That's easy. Aaron Donald, Chris Jones.
It's
Chris Jones.
Those are unicorn D tackles.
Like bang bang. It's
but Payne's on the damn Commanders. Like he ain't getting anyone to a Super Bowl. He's not contributing.
No, but Alex, the whole point is that he's so damn good that you're still talking about him despite the fact that he's on the Commanders.
Well, yeah.
Like that's the point, right? Who's the other guy? Vita Vea from the Buccaneers.
Yeah. He's a very underrated pass rusher. Like people don't give him credit for the way he rushes the pass. He's just slower because he's just a big guy. Like he's not a 1.6 in the 10-yard split type of guy. He's more of a I'm going to get there. It's just going to be a little bit delayed, that kind of thing. But I'm going to push the pocket. I'm still going to get to the quarterback in a sneaky way. But again, he's not the
pushing two guys backwards.
Guy. Oh yeah, he's taking up 2 blockers. So you're getting one-on-ones on the edge all day. So that frees up personnel to get free and get to the quarterback much easier.
Exactly.
Especially you scheme up blitzes and things of that nature. But yeah, to your point, you're right. Like they're looking at. That's why I say I feel like Tommy Adebawore is so valuable because he can do it all. He's a really good run stopper. He can play a 3-tech. He can play a 5-tech. He can play the edge. I mean, he can do it all. So and he's quick
dude
as
from dude from Pitt too. Like I think he's a D tackle, but
Clancy.
He's getting the same praise because he's like an athletic freak, and so the people are saying he's the next Aaron Donald.
Aaron Donald, right?
That's but like it just seems like looking back, like I said, those like Vince Wilfork types. It was like every year there was at least 1 or 2 of those going in the first round because it was like that was like a stalwart of any defense was have some giant bastard in the middle,
right? Yeah. So that goes back to the Raven days when the 34 defense became really prevalent. You get that one big nose tackle in the middle, and you just fill around him because he's going to take up 2 to 3 people every single down, right? So you just know. That's why guys like Siaki Ika is going to fall because people aren't valuing a 350-pound run stopping D tackle versus Clancy, who's going to do it all, or Tommy Adebawore, who can do it all. So they're going to get them early and then pick up Ika late as a rotational guy, which is because people, I think the person we might have seen gone early that's going to be the last one is Jordan Davis. Jordan Davis is a road grading run stopping guy. He's 340 pounds. So he can run a 4.7, but he's still a bigger guy. He's going to be off the field more so on third down than other guys. So you got to look at it from that perspective as well.
I actually think what you're going to start seeing is teams playing what would have been nickel packages. And because some of these really big dudes, like you just spoke about, Coach, at the combine are running like 4.5s and 4.6s at just
freaks,
like stupid freak numbers. No, like, let's just be
It
real.
should
Like,
be physically possible. It should be physically possible, right?
Yeah, no.
Right.
And
Dude, like
and so
5 years ago,
I think-
it wasn't.
Right.
No, it wasn't.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
and so I think you're going to see those guys like the defensive coordinators are always looking for the next thing. So my prediction is the next thing is that you're going to see some of these athletic freak dudes, your Jordan Davises, for example, who's a great example of an athletic freak. Your was it Quinn?
Even then, Jordan Davis, right, was drafted first round last year, but like was almost non-factor. You know, it's not like he even played him.
Right?
No, they traded for more edge rushers at the trade deadline.
Right.
To have that for the playoffs.
Right. Exactly.
You know?
Exactly.
Right, but my point is that they did the traditional thing by pulling him off the field when they went into nickel.
Yeah.
And I think that you're going to start seeing nickel packages include some of these athletic freaks going forward, where they're going to step into like what would be a traditional D end role, but they're going to start sneaking them in to start going up against that like outer interior portion of the line, because they have no tight end help anymore. And so they can overload. And I think that that's going to be the next trend from the D coordinators to help counter these, like, 3 wide receiver, 4 wide receiver, or 3 wide and a tight end who's basically a, 240-pound wide receiver, because that's what they can run. Like, you look at like the Kelseys, for example, on the Chiefs, and some other guys like Ingram, for example, on these other teams. They're basically just really big wide receivers. And I think the counter to that is you get these athletic freak dudes that are, 6'3", 290 to 330 pounds that can run a 4.5 or less. And you're like, go in the middle and get to the quarterback.
And they do it.
And they do it. And I think that's what you're going to start seeing in nickel packages moving forward.
Yeah, so if you're a bigger guy, your best bet as far as the development concerned is working with your pass rush moves.
Yeah, exactly.
Like you got from the interior, you got to be able to get to the pass rusher. And if you want to stay on the field on third down, that's what you should do. So Jordan Davis should be working on his bag drills right now.
I agree. Yeah.
Right now.
Like today. Yeah.
Well, I might have misspoke. I think DZ said he got hurt. I might have misspoke.
He did. I mean, it was a combination of things. Like he got hurt, but he also was more so a run stopping guy in his first year.
I think it's telling though that the Eagles let Hargrave go. So I mean,
true.
They probably saw it, and so that might be a thing. But anyways, it seems like D tackle are like the big bodied, type of players, just a dying breed.
It's almost like the center. It's almost like the back to the basket center in the basketball, right? They're a dying breed. Dying breed.
Yeah, but you 7 foot, you're getting drafted. You're gonna be playing for 10 years.
Right. So Coach, I think it's interesting, and what I think is very interesting is you and I shared at least one player in our picks there, which I thought was really interesting. Captain, over to you in terms of your thoughts for the Raiders. Really what we're talking about here is obviously depth on the roster, filling out the back portion of the roster and that sort of thing, because that's really what most of these late round draft picks do. You can obviously do that via the draft, which would be ideal because you get kind of cheaper players on your team, but you can also pull in guys that are perhaps more team-friendly style dudes, which is often a Patriot approach, and in turn, because the Raiders have started to follow that general approach there. Who do you think might fill out the back portion of the Raiders roster as we start nearing up draft season? You're on mute.
Unmute yourself.
He's just nothing.
Just insubordinate and churlish.
Yep.
So apparently I can't unmute you because you made an executive decision to mute yourself.
I guess that's the way it's working today.
Mm-hmm.
I'll answer for him.
Right. Because I have a separate question. I want to know about
this.
I've heard
the Raiders aren't drafting, and Danny Amendola is coming back, player coach in the slot.
I also want to hear about these rumors about trading up for a quarterback.
Yeah.
Can you unmute me?
We got you now.
You're muted again. There you go.
We hear you now. We hear you now.
I was going to say we needed a Nickelback. You guys muted that? That was bad.
You muted yourself. We didn't do it. You did it yourself.
We didn't hear you.
No. See, Captain, the problem is that as soon as Nickelback is played, StreamYard automatically mutes the audio.
That's the pride of Canada, man.
They're just such a bad band, and
you know what? You know what? I'm gonna take offense to that because there are. I know they're not like the Beatles because obviously the Beatles are. And I go when I'm in my new truck and I have the Sirius and I start the day. It's always the Beatles channel, and I listen to the Beatles before I go into work because I got to. But Nickelback is a decent rock band. It's kind of like saying I'm a Dave Matthews Band fan, and I am. Okay, so maybe I know that's bad in mixed conversation, but yeah, I listen to DMB and I listen to Nickelback because they got some decent music.
Hey, they got some bangers, man.
Yeah,
I think it's just kind of people like to bag on them, but secretly listen
they
to
do.
them.
That's right.
I know Richie sits in his basement, just never made it as a wise man.
That's why I was saying, hey,
air guitar.
No, my man.
When he said we need a Nickelback, and I queued it right up. So if you didn't hear it, but sorry. Anyway.
No, I listened to metal, and Nickelback is
metal,
not that.
Man. Nickelback is metal, bro.
No,
metal.
They're not metal. They're not. And I don't like a lot of super duper metal. I don't. I like rock. There's a difference. I like rock.
Metal's screaming.
Anyway, okay. DZ says when Nickelback is in the house, I know I'm in trouble. My girl plays them when I'm in the doghouse.
That's funny.
That's whatever.
Just
anyway,
be walking around.
That. But as far and jokes aside, the Raiders do need a Nickelback, and actually the reason why I say that is because Hobbs, who was their Nickelback, is probably going to be playing over on the other side as one of the quote unquote outside real cornerbacks.
Yeah,
they did pick up several in free agency, but everything that the Raiders have done in free agency is like I said before on the show, they're cogs, and they are drafting the eventuals to take over the spots. Now with the 12 picks they got, and Coach was alluding to that. Was it you, Coach, that was talking about moving up to get a QB? Okay, I wanted to make sure I gave you credit on that one. For the 12 picks that they got, I would say, okay, Roy doesn't like. I'm sorry, I like Nickelback. I'm sorry.
Wow.
You know what?
I don't like them, but I don't mind them.
You know what, Roy? You know what, Roy?
Episode.
Captain, you finally have picked the appropriate moment. I totally agree. Nickelback is ass.
No, I said eat my ass.
Oh God.
Anyway,
you want to pay for that?
I said, hey, you got your choice. You got your stuff. I got mine. Okay. Anyway, what was I say? Oh, Nickelback. Right. I said the Raiders have picked up a lot of cogs, and I said we picked up 3 cornerbacks, and one of them is going to be the starter on the opposite side.
That's true. I agree with that.
Yeah, and the thing is, I think it might be Shelley. It might be the other kid. I think we picked up Shelley from the Vikings. I think he's going to be although he's not as tall, but he has probably the best stats of all the guys we picked up. But in the draft, and that's why I said, hey, for these later round gentlemen. And I use the term loosely for all the folks in the audience, and ladies, if you hear, I'm not being mean to you. I didn't see any in the names, but these guys, they know names. And I am not as much of a draft aficionado as everybody. I do know the SEC because I'm a Gator, and that's why all these guys you were throwing out there, like Diabate, I know he went from Florida, transferred over to Utah. The other guy that you were talking about is going to be a stud. The first one that was spoken about, I can't remember his name, the linebacker edge, going to be a stud. And the Gators have got quite a lot. Obviously, you're going to see quality out of Georgia because we got that, and Bama. So that's why I'm not that I concentrate on the SEC, but that's pretty much all I really watch. But the rest of them, it's going to be quality. Like Rich was saying, this draft is so deep that there are going to be people in the 7th round that have, if you get it all together and they go to the right spot and they play up to the capacities, there might be a 7th round Hall of Famer one of these days. I probably won't live to see it, but I'm just saying that the quality that you have in this draft, there's going to be players this year that are going to compete and be studs for whichever team gets them. Okay?
I agree.
Gotta compete.
I done it because the captain never says anything worth hearing. Okay, D-Gen, thank you for that. You know, I appreciate that. Hey, having a fan is, you know, even if you're a hater, that's a fan. But again, the point is that the Raiders are going to do the draft is going to be for the guys that will be up and coming. It's going to be depth right now, but they're eventually going to be starters. I know that's for everybody, but really the Raiders were picking cogs in free agency that are going to be there until the guys that draft up will eventually become the starters. Why? Because I'm going to say a dirty word. I'm going to say a very dirty word. That's not a cuss word. It's the Patriot way. And unfortunately, or fortunately, with the organization, okay. Yeah, thanks for
I was testing it.
Okay, thanks for the beat. Yeah, you missed on all my. When I drop some F-bomb, get that ready there, shipmate. There you go. But the way that this organization is being run in is that it's a certain head coach and a certain GM is doing things the way another certain person did them out in New England. Now, I'm not saying, and everybody is saying, well, it doesn't work. It hasn't worked. And the reason why it hasn't worked is because they don't have the right people to run what they want to do. So if you have the right people to run what the thought process is, it might work. And I tell you what, I've seen the Raiders now for I've been a fan for over 50 years. If you're gonna emulate an organization, at least emulate an organization that is a winning organization. Far be it for me to say it 6 ways to Sunday, at least they're a winning organization. Even when they suck, they still win. So it's going to be a thing that Raiders are going to have to get used to. And Ray's like saying, yeah, but it's Josh McDaniels. Richie, let me talk about.
Can I just jump in quickly here on this one?
Yeah,
Ray,
I was cutting it to you. Right. I was cutting it to you to talk about what Josh McDaniels did in Denver.
Yeah, so like the most unpopular opinion in Denver, which I seem to have, and frankly, I'm happy for you to try to tell me I'm wrong because you would be wrong in turn, is when the Broncos fired McDaniels, the overwhelming majority of players that took the Broncos to the Super Bowl in 2013 thereafter were all Josh McDaniels draft picks. They were all the cogs and pieces that McDaniels put in play. So it is a pretty interesting position to take to say that McDaniels was that bad when he was in Denver. Now, don't get me wrong. He had all sorts of issues in Denver. He was arrogant. He was blunt. He was he had personality problems. Like I agree, right? I do. And he actually addressed those in his Raiders presser. Like he literally owned his mistakes in the Raiders presser, which means that he has done the right thing as a head coach and as a man in those situations to say, I made mistakes. I recognize what I did wrong, and I need to do better, and I will do better. And that's basically what he said in the Raiders presser, which is, I mean, you have to give credit where credit's due. And yes, his first season with the Raiders was not great, but I agree with exactly what you were saying, Captain, there, which is McDaniels has a vision for the team, and he's attempting to execute that vision. Ziegler, your GM, recognizes what that vision is and realizes that they're looking for a certain type of person, and they need to make sure they have the right type of person or people overall on the roster so that the ship can all be moved collectively in unison as a group. And they do not want a bunch of me people. They want a bunch of we people. And they're trying to move to that direction. That is what's missing. And frankly, for those who have served in the military, and thank you for your service for those who have, that includes me as a Canadian saying that to those in the U.S., greatest country on planet Earth. When I look at what the military does, particularly just generally speaking, it's all about the collective we, not about the me. And I think that's a very, very important lesson. And that's what a football team is all about, which is moving together as a collective unit.
And may I also add to this as well, because Gabe was saying, like, don't do things the Patriot way. Like I said, I chortle when I say that. It's the new Raider way, the way it should be. But I know of a person by the name of, Vince Lombardi. And I know a person by the name of, Tom Landry, that did things the giant way when they took their programs to Dallas and Green Bay. They did things the giant way because that's where their coaching was from, and they were pretty damn successful at it, Gabe. So park it, okay?
What do
you got against Gabe, man?
I'm using that, Cap.
I'm trying to be nice to Gabe because Gabe's only 17, okay?
Yeah, I'm gonna tell somebody to park it at work.
Yeah. But I'm trying to be nice because I'm trying not to swear. I try not to swear. But again, you do things that work. And oh, by the way, Brian Daboll is going to be doing things the Buffalo way, the way that works for him. Coaches will do things that they know will work. It just takes time for them to work. And Daboll is doing things that worked in Buffalo, and he's implementing it in New York. You do things that you know will work if given the time. And that's why I said, for all these people that are on McDaniels, you got to give them time. Will it work? Remains to be seen. All these people said, well, every other coach that came out of the system sucked. True, but they didn't have the horses, and they went to a lot of different teams that did suck, right? So again, that's why Matt Patricia sucked in Detroit, because Detroit sucks balls, okay? And Romeo Crennel went to the Texans, and what? They sucked. Bill O'Brien also went to the Texans, and they sucked. The point is that the owners did not see the implementation of what was going on and got rid of them. You got to have some patience in this.
And it goes deeper than that. And I think a lot of people, sadly, I think what the challenge of a lot of fans and a lot of other folks that don't really go into the granular details of when they look at how rosters are built, Bill Belichick and Robert Kraft are in lockstep with one another in terms of what needs to go on in New England. And there's a reason why that franchise has been so successful. The challenge that a lot of these other coaches from New England had when they were with their respective teams, with the rare exception of McDaniels, who did in fact have kind of total overarching control. And the reason why his system was starting to work and then he got fired because he was doing some really shady crap, or at least allowing shady crap to take place, which is the owners need to be in lockstep with the vision of the team. Otherwise, the vision of the team will be undermined because the coach will want to take it to a certain level, but then the owner will say, no, it'll be like that level -4 because we want to save $5 million here or $20 million here by not having it tied up in escrow, or we like that player, so we're going to overrule you, or we're going to listen to the defensive backs coach over you because we like him. And I think that that's a problem that a lot of these other head coaches end up with when they go to other teams, is that they are not truly given the total control to implement their vision that guys like Bill Belichick was able to get when he went to New England. And you saw the success that he had when he was able to execute his vision. And frankly, it's been pretty sustainable even without Tom Brady, where they have still been very competitive despite the fact that they don't have an elite quarterback. They are still doing much better than many other teams that are in what you would think from a roster perspective in much better situations, but yet New England is not out of it.
Right.
So I think
Mac Jones was a rookie. Mac Jones was a rookie in McDaniels' last year as OC, and the Patriots went to the playoffs. Okay?
Yep.
Patriots went to the playoffs because of the baseline of what they had there. The organization is made a certain way, and like I said, the Patriot way doesn't work with the coaches they said. Okay, well, you know what? Mike Vrabel has done quite well in Tennessee. Why? Because the owner gave Vrabel pretty much carte blanche to do things his way, and his way was a modicum of what Belichick did. And they've been quite successful in Tennessee. So, again, you got to let things run its course. You got to give it at least 3 years. And then you see what you got.
Yeah, and you know who has a very similar approach to the Patriot way, and you're starting to see it pay dividends in the way in the approach, is Campbell from Detroit.
Yeah.
Detroit is like this close to actually getting, to a pretty solid record and being pretty scary. And I think we need to start paying a little bit more close attention to what Detroit's doing, because they can do some really scary things. And I think you're seeing a similar approach to the way that the Patriots and, dare I say, what the Chiefs ended up doing, which was they built this kind of powerhouse team and then recognized that their quarterback wasn't good enough, traded up, got a better quarterback, and then did better. And we're seeing some of those same features out of these other teams across the NFL. Campbell there in Detroit is, I think, a great example of where they're trying to build the trenches and build a culture, and then likely do a bait and switch by doing a massive trade for a quarterback to then all of a sudden leapfrog themselves into the national stage and truly be a legit powerhouse for long term. And I think the Chargers did a similar thing a little bit when they got Herbert, where they ensured they locked down a quarterback that they felt was going to be a generational guy. They were correct. And I think getting that guy and getting that key cog, but building the team around him first, is what's going to allow you to be sustainable. Belichick recognized that as the earliest of coaches in the modern day NFL that we know it. And there's just other coaches that are finally catching up. So you can slam the Patriot way all you want, but at the same time, it worked.
Yeah, and actually, Robert Saleh is doing the same thing in New York.
He is.
Robert Saleh is doing the same thing in New York. And even though it wasn't successful his first year, he turned that franchise, and this is going to be year 3 of Saleh in New York.
You can see the volume. You can see the volume dial being turned up on that franchise. They are. Shout out to Jet Central.
I feel like the Jets
shout out to Jet Central from a friend of the show. I think that Jet Central is going to have one heck of a season to start reporting on this upcoming year, in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, you Patriot way. To quote you, said it worked. That kind of prefaces by saying it was past tense. Do you feel like the Patriot way still works?
Actually, overall, it still does. Overall, it still does. Now you've lost. Now I said you've lost a lot of the offense that you had with he who shall not be named. I can't stand just getting that name out, right? But the defense has always been something that Belichick had under his wing, And so he didn't have to worry about that portion. And the defense has been solid, if not spectacular. So that was his baby. It was the other guys that was like the big fat guy that went to Kansas. That was the OC before McDaniel. Like Charlie Weiss, I think. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Charlie Weiss had the offense, and then McDaniels had the offense, and that was their babies. Basically like what they did when the Bears had Buddy Ryan doing the defense and then Gilbride doing the offense. They each was like basically a head coach of their own. Even the Saints under Sean Payton and Williams pretty much did things that way. Payton ran things overall, was the offensive guy, and Williams was the guy that took care of the defense. So
don't forget Fangio.
Well, I'm talking about in New Orleans when
Nowlands.
Before they
I agree.
I don't know though, man. I don't feel like the Patriot way is as lucrative of an option as it was in years past.
I agree.
It seems to be going downhill.
It does, and I think it was. I think the Patriot way was pieced together or held together by an all-time great quarterback. I think the dynamic shifted long before.
Who also took significant pay cuts to allow them to build around him.
Right.
And these other, perfect storm factors, I think that gave them the ability to have such sustainable success.
Agreed.
I mean, where you said, right, they got Mac Jones and made the playoffs, I thought, well, damn, it seems to be, maybe it is Belichick. It wasn't Brady, but Belichick. But then you see them lose McDaniels, and he says, I don't really need an offensive guy. I just need my brain out here. And
what did he go out and do this offseason there, Alex?
That's what I'm saying. So that's why I'm saying, looking at what recently occurred, it seems to be trending down. It could go up. It could be a resurgence here for Mac Jones and everything else.
They're actually shopping around.
That's what I'm saying. At the same time, you're seeing reports of, Belichick didn't like how Mac Jones reached out to college coaches last season to talk about advice and didn't like how he responded to stuff, and now shopping him. I mean, that could be all smoke and mirrors for the draft, but it doesn't seem like they have a lot of I guess looking at the Patriots in a vacuum, right? It doesn't seem like they have a lot of favorable news going on right now for them.
I think that's fair.
Well, that is, but you know what? The one thing that I can always say is with this is that the Raiders have not had continuity in the coaching staff since Tom Flores left. Look it up. John Madden was a coach for 10 years. Flores was a coach for a good 6 to 7 years. You have continuity. Now, granted, I know it was a different age. I get it. But you need to have continuity so that you pick things up right where you left off. You don't have to go through a big learning curve, which is why the Chiefs are as good as they are. Why? Because Andy Reid is there and everybody knows what to expect. And with their defensive coordinator being there for so long as well, you do things the way that gentleman does. Was the Giants
Spagnuolo.
Spagnuolo,
yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, Spagnuolo.
I said it first. So it's fun.
You guys do things the same way, and you do the continuity, and then you get the players that can do stuff. I'm just saying, you got to see what it's going to run by. And Staley, even though he's a knucklehead at times, is at least doing things consistently with the Chargers because they have a plan. They have a plan. They got to the playoffs this past year. They didn't quite make it there the year before, but they are still going forth with this is how we're going to do things, and let's see what happens. But they've got.
Yeah, that's why Staley's still there. That's why Staley's still there. You're right. Is because he has presented a plan, and what he has presented has proven to play out. And I think when they have not done things that Staley has said he wanted to do, it can be shown clearly that it has been the weakness on the team. And I think that bodes well for Staley in his meetings with the owners. And I think that when you present yourself the right way and the things that you say are likely going to happen come true when people don't listen to you, it's very, very difficult for anyone who is even modestly good in business to start saying, well, we need to replace the guy that told us that if we stab ourselves in the hand that it will hurt. And we said, go to hell. And then we stabbed ourselves in the hand and it hurt. That all of a sudden we're going to fire him because he told us what was going to happen. Like, that's dumb. You literally had a guy that was telling you the thing to do and you ignored him. And what he said was going to come true did. I want to move on to the Broncos, guys, so we can start getting on to some more of the late round draft picks for the AFC West. I'm going to cover my Denver Broncos and go over a few interesting late round picks that might be of interest.
Hi, Mom.
Hi, Mom.
Mrs. Smug, how are you?
It is.
I'm not cussing. I'm not cussing.
It's also my mother's birthday today.
Oh, happy birthday!
Happy birthday!
Hold on.
Wish her, yeah.
Hold on. Before we move on to the Broncos, that is an important thing.
Yes.
Mrs. Gibbons, I just want to wish you a happy birthday on behalf of the Wild Wild West podcast. Thank you for joining us on your birthday, nonetheless.
Happy birthday to you.
Oh.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday,
ladies and gentlemen in the chat.
Mama Smug.
Anything to stop the singing. If we can get some comments in the chat, that would be great.
Boom.
Let's get some birthday wishes in the chat for Mrs. Gibbons, aka Mama Smug. Let's go ahead and bring on. Let's go. There we go. Perfect. Let's bring it on and get the comments going in the chat. Happy birthday, Ms. Gibbons, and we will proceed on to my Denver Broncos and the late round draft picks that I have selected to highlight for the show for all of you tonight. So, one thing that the Denver Broncos we know is that we got rid of Bradley Chubb. We have a decent but not spectacular outside linebacker, edge rush room. They're good, but they're not spectacular. And I think that we're going to have Chris. A lot of people don't recognize the name Chris Allen because he was injured last season. But he was originally slated to be a second-round draft pick in last year's draft. I think he's going to surprise a lot of people, and people are going to wonder where he came from. He was always meant to be a spectacular player at the NFL level. I think he's going to surprise many people for the Denver Broncos this year. That being said, having edge depth is never a bad thing. If you're looking for a prime example, look at Shaq Barrett, who was with the Buccaneers. He was an undrafted free agent, and he rose up to the NFL. Yeah. Exactly.
Fake Pirates.
He is pretty good though.
Yeah, he ain't bad, right?
Yeah, it's not bad.
Yeah, he's not bad. So my first pick that I wanted to throw out there as a late round draft pick, he's looking to be somewhere in the 6th undrafted free agent range from most that I've been able to aggregate online. His name is Nick Hampton of App State. He is 6'2", 236 pounds. He has 33 5/8 inch arms, which are an important thing from an edge rusher because it allows a lot of the extra hand moves to take place. Those are not super long arms for most players, but it's also not super short either. Basically, Nick is my size almost exactly. I have longer arms than he does, but aside from that, we're basically the same height and weight. So I'm looking at a guy like that, and he would be great at the NFL level. He would fit as an outside linebacker. He is good on both rush and pass defense, which is exactly what you want for that rotational guy. You want to be able to throw him in to get him on-field experience, but then you want him to start developing in either pass rush or run stopping from the outside. Ideally, you want him to develop in the pass rush because that's going to help you win games more. But everyone needs a rushing and or run defender from the outside backer position. So I have him picked based on basically where the NFL is at right now. Edge is such a high level position that having a guy like that, I think, is going to be a super high level pick, and I think it's a great option. Coach, back to your comment about running back and talking about Eckler.
Mm-hmm.
One of the best positions for the best value is picking a late round running back.
Oh,
How
yeah.
about that?
Oh,
Right.
yeah.
It's just one of the best things for your team to get that late round guy that turns out to be a stud, right?
And I think that's how it's going to play out too, because I think the first two guys, Jamar Gibbs and Bijan Robinson, are going to go early, and the rest of the guys are going to go late.
I mean, Pacheco, right? 7th round.
Pacheco's a great example.
7th round.
I feel like you see with such a saturated running back market draft pool every year. I feel like you see teams almost every year taking at least one running back between rounds 5 and 7, and it's like, we can either stuff them on the practice squad or it doesn't work out, but it's like,
or do whatever.
Seems like I'd say almost 90% of NFL rosters are drafting someone, at the running back position on day, later part of day 2 or day 3 for sure. Just because that's such a high injury position and everything else.
Right. So my running back in the later rounds for my Denver Broncos is a gentleman by the name of Chris Brooks. He is from Cal. He is 6 foot, 219 pounds, a little lighter than I would like given his height, but I think you can bulk up and kind of get him in that kind of weight room preseason stuff and have him kind of get to that 230 range, which should not be too difficult given the fact that he's basically 220 right now. And for those of us who are joining us from the Denver Broncos fan base, or just football fans in general who recognize this name, C.J. Anderson. He's the guy that made other teams look silly. And so when I look at Chris Brooks and I see how he runs the ball, he's got that C.J. Anderson running plane. And for those of you who recognize the name C.J. Anderson, you're going to know exactly what I mean by that, which is he would get hit, like C.J. Anderson would get dead hit, like hard, and rather than fall over, he just shifted to the side. So it's almost like you hit him and you just kind of shift him over, and then he keeps going.
Yeah.
And that's
he was
exactly
a beast for like 2-3 years.
Yeah, he was an animal.
I remember this. The only thing I remember about C.J. Anderson
is Shanahan run scheme, man. He turned a lot of no-name guys into studs.
And then I feel like ideally, like my memory of C.J. Anderson is the year I invested him in fantasy. I look like an idiot. So I hate him. I just hate him, Grandma.
Right. So I am on record. Yeah. So I was on record when C.J. Anderson was drafted as UDFA for the Broncos. I was on the DenverBroncos.com forum, and I am the first person that I've been able to find that called out and predicted that he was making the 53-man roster. And I was right. I saw him run, and I was like, the dude's an animal. Like there's a certain uniqueness about a guy that can get hit but not fall over.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what you want in a running back. And I see that in Chris Brooks. So I think anyone who gets Chris Brooks is going to get a running back that can really do all of the right things in a running back room. And Alex, I'm going to look to your team. He reminds me of Prosecco that you have there, that stud that you got in the 7th round. And he gets hit. When you watch him get hit, he kind of gets moved to the right or the left, whichever direction he's hit in, but he doesn't fall over. He keeps running after that, and he gets 2-3 extra yards or more after that initial contact. That's what I'm seeing from Chris Brooks. That's what I saw from C.J. Anderson. It's a unique skill set, and I think that's an important thing. So anyways, that is one of the highlighted guys that I have, and I believe the Denver Broncos have not brought back in a guy like Latavius Murray, who I thought that we might bring back just because he did so well for us, I believe that opens up the room for a guy like Chris Brooks. Well, I think we should have is the answer, but we did not. And so I think that opens up the room for a younger guy like a Chris Brooks to come in and compete for that, back end of the roster spot, which is what you expect from
What about P. Ryan? What about P. Ryan, though?
P. Ryan's our third running back. No, like we only have 3 main running backs right now. I know we have more. So Chris Brooks and Crockett will actively be for that.
Is he buffering or is it just me?
Am I going to make the roster versus not?
Okay.
He's buffering.
Okay. You were buffering.
All I heard was Crockett and 3 running backs. But I think we know what you meant.
Yeah, I think we got the gist. And I would more so look for a change of pace guy, personally. Like, you got 2 bruisers and P. Ryan and Williams. I would look for more of a change of pace guy, more of a speedy guy. And,
but you got to look at, I'm thinking for Denver, right? I mean, they have to kind of revert back to what part of Russ's game was successful. And that was, committing to the run early with big bruising, Marshawn Lynch type guys. And then play actioning off of that. So it seems
that begs a good question then. Yeah, that begs a good question. So is it more Peyton's scheme? Because when he was with New Orleans, it was a thunder and lightning thing with Ingram and Kamara, right? But now he got 2 bruisers and no lightning. Like, you have 2 thunders, no lightning. So is it going to be more of a what's good? Right.
They were not thunder and lightning. They were thunder and elusive.
Yeah. Thunder.
I mean, that's the saying. That's the
exactly. Yeah.
Thunder and lightning.
Before that, dude, it was Deuce, baby.
Yeah. I mean, and coach, if you look at Kamara, he was not a small guy. He was a bigger back too. He just had speed to go with his size. So he was an elusive back for his size.
Plus, to be fair, I'm pretty sure Kamara was like a 5th round pick too. So
yeah, he was. He was a later round pick as well.
4th round, he was a 4th round pick. Yeah.
Which I'm looking at Chris Brooks and saying that I have him projected between the 5th and UDFA.
Okay.
As a draft pick, and frankly, if you get that dude in the 6th or later, I'd say run to the podium, get him on your roster, see what you can do.
That's fair.
And there's gonna be so many undrafted guys too that it's gonna be interesting to see.
Another guy that I wanted to bring up for the Denver Broncos is a guy that got hurt during the combine and whatnot, and I'm not sure where he's going to land as a result of that, and that is Richard Guriage. I don't know if that's the correct spelling, but he's an offensive tackle from Florida.
Towards ACL, didn't he?
He wrecked his knee. I don't know if it's his ACL 100%, but I know he definitely has a high ankle sprain at minimum.
Yeah, big strong kid that is fantastic on the O-line, man.
Right.
He'll come back from that, dude. 7 months.
He'll come back from that. He'll bounce back from that, but I see that as a high upside, mid risk, not a low risk, but a mid risk. And I think as a result of that, his draft stock's going to fall. And so I'm kind of almost looking at what's the guy from Dallas that basically fell way late. The tackle that decided the guy that hotboxed himself with a gas mask.
Oh, Tunsil.
Are you talking about
Tunsil?
Tunsil, yeah.
Or I guess the Dallas one was Collins. Lyle Collins.
Lyle Collins, yeah.
He had a murdered investigation going on, though. It's a little different.
Murder, just a little bit different. Just a little bit different.
One's a gateway to the other, according to school programs.
According to Jerry Jones, they are, definitely draftable. But, potato.
Yeah.
But my thing is that when I look at a guy who has an ACL tear,
you're
basically having to draft him knowing you can't play him. And I think that there's a high upside to a guy like that. I think that you are well within a late round draft pick to take a flyer on a guy like that. and I think as a result of that injury, he will have a precipitous fall because teams will look at that and say you're injury prone even before you enter the league.
No,
So he
red
is
shirt. I like you said, and I actually, that's one name, and I thank you for saying that. That's one name that the Raiders might look at as well because of his upside. In college, they
I think he was an early projected pick too. I think.
Yeah.
He was a first, second round
like 3 or 4 of those guys that got hurt
right
at the combine or their pro day, and then they're going to drop because of the injury.
Yeah,
and I mean, dude, that's an 8 month. I mean, 6 to 8 month process, and I mean, it's more of a mental thing. I tore my
ACL. No. As a guy who is at that size, it is no longer a mental thing.
Bro, I personally lived through an ACL tear and returned to playing football in college. I could tell you it is a mental thing. And I watched people go through the same injury and not be the same person because they were scared of getting hurt again. I mean, once you have surgery, it's replaced. It's fixed.
That's a fact.
It's you telling yourself it's not that is the biggest hurdle. Or just the fact that your body's not regenerating the same way. I mean, look at Adrian Peterson, right? Tears his ACL, comes back, rushes for 2,000 yards. Derrick Rose tears ACL, not the same player ever again.
There you go.
And it's a big mental thing. I mean, anyone can have a significant knee restructuring and come back fine. It's just a matter of if they approach the game and think about the game the same way.
No, I think there's a fair amount of comment there to say mental plays a huge role in how you're able to come back from an injury like that. But I do also think that you were never over 300 pounds.
I mean, I played at 285. Pretty close.
Close enough.
Okay, so that's close. Okay, so that's close.
He did play online now. Let's remember, he did play online.
Yeah, that's close. But I mean, if I'm not mistaken, I think
6'8". But
he's something like 3 something and 6'6" or something ridiculous.
Yeah, we're pretty close. Pretty similar size.
Yeah,
and that's before breakfast.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm looking at a bigger guy like that and just saying that his rehab is going to be a little bit different just because of the way that the training has happened now. I mean, Alex, you and I are of at least relative similar age. When I was going through my high school,
I tore my ACL in 2013.
Yeah. So I broke my leg, we'll just say earlier than that. But
I'm trying to get that out there.
Yeah. Right. But when you look at these guys that they're coming up now through high school, they were being trained in this generation, as in Richard's generation there, the way that we were in post-secondary. So there's been a huge shift in terms of training regime for these guys and diet regime. So these offensive linemen are coming into college looking like guys that were coming out of college and into the NFL.
Yeah. Well,
it's everything has just shifted back like a full step, right? And I think that's an important distinction to make between kind of when we were playing and when these new guys are playing, is just that everything is just different.
Mm-hmm.
Like you and I didn't have access to that level of nutritional and also it wasn't there.
You just had to pay for it.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Yeah. My high school was not doing that. They'd be like, here's your apple before the game.
Yeah.
Go play hard.
Yeah, exactly. So I just think it's a little bit different now than it was then. And I think that the extra stuff that's available now is allowing these guys that are legit NFL prospects to truly be basically men when they're like 15. It's silly. I mean, it kind of goes to show, even when I was playing competitive rugby here in Canada, because we just don't believe that football is a real sport for some reason. I don't know why. It is so unique to find a program that I happen to go to here in Canada, even for rugby, where we were trained the way we were. Like I had 3-4 guys that were at national level status. I went to high school with multiple pro athletes in multiple sports. Like that is rare in Canada, right? And so you have to look at kind of access and that kind of stuff. It makes a huge difference in terms of where you were, and also just like the quality of the school you went to here, at least here in Canada. And
yeah, I mean that's the same here. Like,
yeah,
you go to modern day in LA, I guarantee you that high school offers their athletes all of that stuff.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah, and I have a couple alternatives here. So those are my top 3. My kind of like, 3B and 3C for the Denver Broncos are inside linebacker Nick Herbig. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that last name right. He's from Wisconsin. He's a bit of like a weird tweener type guy. He's a quick but on-ball linebacker. So he's that great. He's like almost like a Josie Jewell replacement for the Broncos. If for those Broncos fans, you know who that is. Who I believe can kind of start to elevate as time progresses. So he'd be a great like run stopping inside backer kind of guy. And then the other one that I think would be a really interesting one is Moro Ojomo from Texas. I simply pronounced the last name differently there, Coach. But I think that he's a great D tackle, and the Broncos desperately need depth at that position. So I could actually see him being that late round pick or that 5th round pick that we take a flyer on.
Now, I would be slightly jealous if we lining him and DJ Jones up together in the interior. That's just not right. just a little bit, a little peanut butter jealous. Little peanut butter jealous.
And that's kind of where I was going with that when I picked him as my pick for the alternative.
At least your squad has a 1st round and 2nd round pick. So I mean,
you know.
Cuts both ways.
Oh, those aren't needed, right? You don't need those picks.
Yeah.
Right.
Nah.
F them picks. F them picks.
Yeah, exactly. Just get coaches, right?
Great picks for coaches.
Yeah, Jack. Alex, how tall are you?
I wish I was 6'6". 6'1", 6'1" with cleats on.
6'1" with cleats on.
Okay,
You meet a guy he's 6'3". You meet a guy he's 6'3".
I'm straight 6 foot, man. That's why I played NAIA.
So Alex is like
80s.
We'll call Alex like 6 foot to 6'1", and when he was playing 280. What?
Yeah, with cleats, 6'1" with cleats.
There you go.
So Jack, when I was
6'2".
Yeah. So Jack has actually seen me in person. I am every bit 6'2", and when I was playing, like I dwarfed the server at the restaurant we were at. He looked short. And when I was playing competitive rugby, I was at 245. And I ran a 5-minute mile.
Yeah, I didn't do that. I benched 405 and back squatted 605 and clean and jerk 380.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
That's all I needed to do.
So like that's me right there.
I saw that.
Yeah, I saw that.
You got that sweet phone. That's the Samsung that like flips open the full thing.
Z Fold. What you got there, Cap?
This is an LG that doesn't work. That is no longer made anymore.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, sorry you guys saw my paperwork for. I hope that that.
Yeah, I saw your social there. What were the last 4?
What year were you born?
Yeah. What's your credit score right now?
There you go.
My credit score is quite good, actually.
Don't mind that credit check that's going to come through in the next couple of days. Yeah. Don't mind that credit inquiry for a new sleep number bed.
Yeah. So guys, that's what I have for the Broncos.
From Nebraska Furniture Mart, don't worry about it.
There you go.
So guys, that's what I have for the Broncos in terms of who I believe would be good fits for what we like to do on our team. as well as guys that I think will be there at that point in the draft, given where the current projections are. And with that in mind, Alex, I'm going to toss over to you, and I'm going to be back in just one sec.
All right. Boom. So, I mean, in terms of the Chiefs, they have a shizload of day 2, day 3 draft picks.
Hey man, that might be great for this draft.
So I mean, yeah, it's going to be an interesting, like I know I've said like a broken record now for probably 3 weeks. I don't believe that they're going to use all those picks. Like I think that they're going to do something to move up. Will that be for a tackle or an edge rusher or a receiver in the first round? I don't know, but I do see them moving up. But I think that that they're going to use a good chunk of that to kind of build some depth where they're still missing. Have some significant drop in numbers from who left and who hasn't been added to the roster. And it's going to be kind of a reoccurring theme, I guess, in the positions I think that they should really be targeting, and that would be edge rusher and just the D line in general, because right now it's Chris Jones and Derek Nandi, who is the guy they brought back, but is a guy that they absolutely do not trust to play in passing down situations.
That's a fact.
So those are the two interior guys, and Chris Jones isn't even the full-fledged interior guy because they move him around. So that's I think D tackle are like that tweener. Kind of goes what we were talking about earlier, like those big body guys. The Chiefs defense in to some degree doesn't really value or want their interior D linemen to be that type of build. I mean, look at Nandi. He's I'd say the biggest one that they have that doesn't have any sort of pass rushing ability. But I mean, the guy that used the most last year in third down, pass work was Khalil Saunders, who went to New Orleans, and that guy's 6'1", 300 Western Illinois, Missouri Valley Football Conference guy that was quick and was able to rush the passer and get back there. Being in a one-on-one situation because they're going to be doubling Jones and whoever's on the edge. So I think that is the biggest focus with the draft is replenishing the edge rushing rotation as well as adding more depth behind Chris Jones and Nandi, and hopefully finding someone who can kind of be that trusted interior guy in passing down situations, when you want to move Jones around and everything. So, where they go with that, who they're valuing more than other people or the importance of how early of a pick they use on that stuff. And that's who freaking knows. give me a Powerball number, and I think my odds are just about the same to guess that one.
Right.
But looking at the people, because what I did, I guess, to talk about this is looked at what news has been out there about who they've been inviting to their top 30 visits, who they've been meeting with, because Brett Veach, for the most part, he's a big Shrine Bowl, Senior Bowl guy. Goes to those, falls in love with people that are kind of lesser known, and then just kind of keeps targeting them, keeping up with them. I did the same thing with Pacheco. Like fell in love with Pacheco at the East-West Shrine Bowl last year. Constantly saw them meeting with him whenever they had the opportunity, and then take him in the 7th round. So I think that's the biggest indication of who the positions and kind of who they're targeting in terms of adding depth. So really. Looking at who they've brought in, outside of like your Quentin Johnstons and the people that you're going to invite just to invite, so everyone thinks that you're interested, because some of that stuff's like a crapshoot to get some Johnny down the street to make them think you value them, so they'll take them higher. But looking at the lesser known people, it's all D linemen, it's all tweener kind of D tackles and corners. So. I think that they will kind of ride the wave as they have in years past and really replenish, kind of try to hit a big splash, offensive.
Do you need corners though?
Well, and that's kind of where going to.
You did well last year in those later rounds. Like you got some good guys.
Yeah, but there's a lot of rumors right now that they might be moving on from L'Jarius Sneed, who is an excellent corner, but in the last year of the contract, and it seems to be the reoccurring theme is let's not spend money, let's go younger. So it to be foreseen if he's there, if not, but I think that you see them try to at least draft some depth pieces later, and maybe catch lightning in the bottle with one of them. Josiah Williams and the other corner, I think they're both Williams actually. Both those guys were later picks and ended up having.
Your dog does not agree.
They're ready to get out of here. They're beefing back here, but they're definitely going to take a corner just because I feel like there's a lot of, Coach, I think we've all mentioned corners and, corners later that are freak athletes. So there's plenty of that to go around. But the D tackles they've been looking at, they all have kind of a lot of promising prospects. So I think a guy, Deshaun Johnson from Toledo, 6'3", 280 guy, but was an unstoppable guy at the Shrine Bowl. Had like 16 sacks in his career, and some of his numbers. He wasn't invited to the combine, but some of his pro day numbers would have put him, the top 3 in terms of measurables and physical traits for D tackles. So, kind of smaller school guys. Who they've been looking at. There's another guy from that I've seen kind of on a lot of teams' radars is Broderick Martin, who's a D tackle from Western Kentucky. A little bit bigger, 6'5", 335, but more of your run stuffer, but still produced a lot of pass rush pressures and stats in that regard. So it looks like that's kind of where they're looking to build depth in the later rounds. I mentioned those 2 guys. Those are kind of a few that I've kind of kept my, put on the radar. In terms of wide receiver, like there's so many out there, but my biggest, I seen them rumored to D-Hop, Odell Beckham, all that. So I'm still kind of waiting to see what happens with that. I think every team at this point is waiting for D-Hop to get released and then kind of let him decide where he wants to go play and, what money he wants and everything. So to be seen on that one, but I do think that they're going to go receiver, maybe not super early, but earlier, in the second, third round. But I also see him adding someone later as well, just because right now the room is, Tony, MVS and Sky Moore, and Justin Ross, who everyone's already on the Justin Ross hype train, which might be good, but that's a little bit different of depth than what you had last year, and a lot of those guys are not. I don't think have played full season, so I see them adding depth there, and like I said, I think they're going to go early on a guy, maybe even trade up if someone they like is around. But the dude I really want, later, like fourth, depending on how it falls, maybe even fifth, is Trey Palmer. From Nebraska.
I like that guy.
I like that guy. He's obviously, runs 4.3 40. So, if he had all the receiver tangibles, he'd be a first round pick. Right. There's a reason he's not. But, to pair
with still 6'1", 190. So, yeah, it's not bad.
That's essentially what I think they need to find later is I don't want to call him a replacement, but like essentially identical blueprint of McCole Hardman, right? Like someone who's fast, straight line speed, and might be a little more raw in terms of route running and, getting and creating separation and everything, but might flourish when not, thrusted into having to perform. So, I think Trey Palmer's kind of my wish list guy to target later. I mentioned those D linemen they've been looking at. Another edge rusher I've kind of come to really like is I don't even know how to say his first name. Viliami Fihoko from San Jose State.
Yeah.
Dude, small school guy, but he had 12 sacks this last year. I mean, was up there in the nation, like high up ranked in the nation, I think, in terms of total pressures. So, I mean, certainly has the talent and tangibles, I guess, to whatever conference San Jose State is in, a Mountain West, to put numbers there. But, you know, it to be seen if that can translate. But I think he has the tools and the size to transition well. So, you know, just looking at the guys I'm looking at this list here. I mean, yeah, really, I think that's the biggest thing for KC is stressing the edge and receivers. And then, like I kind of alluded to earlier, I do think they're going to draft a running back as well, given the current state. So, you know, some guys I've looked at with that are Evan Hull from Northwestern. I would really like Deuce Vaughn from Kansas State just because I think that kind of brings the Jerick McKinnon type of production to the KC offense. So, yeah. See, I'm losing Cap. So, on that one, that's the Chiefs for you, baby. Boom.
I heard you. It's been a long week.
Yeah, that's KC, guys. I guess to put it the smug way, it doesn't matter what they're going to do; they're going to win again. So,
oh boy, they had to put that stamp on it. But I mean, as a team,
man, I'm over here just talking, and I see Richie. I don't even know what he's doing. Cap's falling asleep with his hands like this.
I had something falling in back behind me, so I had to grab it before it fell. But I heard what you said, and I think that for your team, I think that because of the air quote depth that you need, I would say that picking at the back end of each round, it's a BPA type of deal for every pick. I mean, you need X, Y, and Z. We'll go. We can find that guy who is the best player in that particular area around. That's what you do.
Yeah. No, and KC also, it seems like every year they kind of in the later rounds take those smaller school guys. And that seems to be kind of Veach's MO or who he really likes to target. And for at least for now, it seemed to kind of work out. I think that'll blow up eventually.
Yeah, they're one of the few that scouting D2 and D3 guys who have athletic ability, right?
Yeah, right. But
out of all of our teams, the Broncos have had some of the greatest success with late round and UDFA picks.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if we're going to be honest and truly assess kind of over a long period of time, the Broncos have had some of the greatest success with late round and undrafted free agents in the entire division, and it may not even be close. So when you look at CJ Anderson, you look at Juwan, was it Juwan Williams, I think was the guy's last name. I might get the last name wrong. He was an undrafted free agent. We've had a couple corners. We've had late round draft picks in guys like Terrell Davis, who's now a Hall of Famer, who is in the later rounds as well of the draft. Not undrafted, but later rounds. The Broncos had some spectacular
I'm looking here.
Late round draft picks.
Chris Harris. There we go.
Chris Harris Jr., undrafted free agent. You have Shaq Barrett, undrafted free agent, arguably one of the best edge rushers in the league for a good portion of time.
You guys didn't want him. You can't claim him now.
He was on our team. I didn't want him to go.
I'm just kidding. Rod Smith. There you go.
Yep.
I'm going down the list of the 30 greatest undrafted players of all time. So,
dude, you just listed 3 guys on the Broncos in the top 30 there. So, I think we're doing okay.
Well, I mean, Chargers got Antonio Gates.
Austin Eckler too. Austin Eckler's UDFA too.
Austin Eckler's UDFA and Philip Lindsay is a UDFA, who are both those two running backs are kind of built in the same.
We can't
mold.
forget about the greatest UDFA though, who was in St. Louis, and that's Kurt
Warner.
Kurt Warner, yeah.
A grocery bagger who turned
They
into
made
a
a movie. They made a movie about that man.
They did. Yep.
With Shazam.
Yeah. But
no, I mean, you aren't wrong though. Like, I mean, some of it might not be, long sustained careers, but it always seems that Denver, especially in recent years too, even it's always had an undrafted guy that's been a huge contributor, or just like a sneaky contributor. I mean, was Tim Patrick drafted? Yeah, I mean, was Tim Patrick drafted?
Well, we acquired him as a floater around the league, but to be honest,
like you said,
Tim Patrick is he is a great example of a prototypical Denver Bronco guy.
Yeah,
he is a
I mean, hell, you got
an
undrafted QB in the Hall of Fame, man, Kendall Hinton. So
yep.
Let's call it spade.
Hey, man.
But that's my point, right? Is that the Broncos have typically had a very long-standing history of picking some pretty darn good UDFA guys that have been huge contributors to our team, and some of which have been gone on. Like CJ Anderson's probably one of my, like, in recent memory, he is one of the better UDFAs the Broncos have ever picked up. I mean, he made the Raiders look silly in that one game, and then he made the Patriots look even worse.
I mean, Jack does have a point here, though. The Raiders got Bo Jackson for nothing.
This is true.
But that's because the Tampa Bay Bucks are idiots.
Well, that's a whole other conversation.
Eligibility
Right, but the point, though, is that there are certain teams that seem to pick the right guys in the later rounds that are able to get guys at almost next to nothing from a salary perspective and get production that is so far beyond where they were drafted out of them that it's rather remarkable.
Those are the cool stories too that you like.
Those are the underdogs. Those are the underdog stories that everyone loves to hear. Which is
especially like I have a tremendous, like, for your Adam Thielens and stuff, right? Like the guys that were like D2, D3, because I know, from my own friends and the process that those guys have to go through just to get noticed is absurd. I mean, I had a buddy go to the Vikings mini camp. That's what they do, is they invite those smaller school guys to these rookie mini camps, and it's like 3 days, and they decide if they keep 5 of you or not. And he was one of the top receivers in Division II football. And they said, "Nah, we think you would be more of a tight end." So they put him at tight end. He said, "Yeah, I got to run like 5 routes in the 3 days." And they said, "Yeah, we're good." and so it's just like great, like, to think about Adam Thielen, in fact, played in the same conference that my buddy played in and went to the same exact mini camp and, made it out. So it's just wild to think of the process that those guys have to go to be relevant and stay relevant. So that's the story you can get behind.
No, I agree with some of that kind of stuff. So, guys, when we look at all of the teams and kind of where we're at with the late round draft picks, this is why a show like this is so fun, right? Is you're looking at these guys that we've mentioned over the course of this show, and I bet at least one of these guys is going to become a household name. But everyone is basically all of these guys that we have mentioned over the course of this show, all of these guys,
definitely,
has been written off already, and they haven't even got into the league. Right? You're a 5th round pick. You're a 7th round pick. You're not even going to make the draft, And at least one of these guys that we have mentioned over the course of this show is gonna be in that upper echelon for the next 3 to 5 years. It's almost a it's what makes the later rounds of the draft so interesting and fascinating to me is because there's always one guy who gets drafted late and always kills it. And our teams have done very, very well in these later rounds of the draft. With the Chargers, the Chiefs have not done quite as well as the rest of the teams in the AFC West. The Raiders have done better than the Chiefs, but the Broncos and the Chargers have traditionally picked guys consistently over the years that have been key contributors. The Chiefs have had a few guys like your Sorensens, for example, that have gone later in the draft, but
they had 3 on that list I looked at. So I mean, that's right up there in Denver.
No, I agree. I agree, but the key is that list is all-time great. And the Denver Broncos are in rare air when it comes to all-time greats from like UDFA and late round draft picks. Like they're literally in that like top like 1 to 2 teams where they pick guys at like the end or UDFAs and they've been Hall of Famers. Like that's like so rare. But when it comes to short-term sustained success for like 2 to 3 years for undrafted free agents, Denver is an even rarer air when it comes to picking those types of guys. And you look CJ Anderson, Chris Harris Jr., like those are, I mean, Chris Harris has a legit chance at making the Hall of Fame potentially. There was 2 to 3 seasons where he had the lowest cast percentage in the entire NFL. Like that is unbelievable for a guy that was deemed undraftable. And so many people overlook that. And I think that's important for so many people, including the AFC West rivals, to look at and say, that's crazy. He was part of the no-fly zone, which was part of the 2015 defense, which from a statistical standpoint is at or better than the 85 Bears.
Well, yeah.
No, I'm saying statistically. You can put the 85 Bears in some folklore, but if you're being objective about looking at the stats of the defenses, the 2015 Broncos and the 85 Bears, there was multiple stats where the 2015 Broncos beat the 85 Bears. And so it depends on, it comes down to when you look at those defenses, what stat do you value more? And I think it comes down to what era were you playing in and what stat mattered most based on the era that you were playing in. There is a legit argument to make when you look at how Von Miller especially played in that Super Bowl, where it's like one dude literally overtook an entire game.
Yeah.
Good luck.
I mean,
Good luck. So, anyways, ladies and gentlemen, this has been one of my favorite shows. One, we've made it a full year, all of us kind of talking about the AFC West. And I think that is a unique milestone in and of itself to have 4 division rivals not want to kill each other, which really ought to be talked about. Which really ought to be talked about more. And I think the other thing here, guys, is we have much more to discuss as the season gets on and as the years go on here. We look forward to multiple more on the air with all of you. Please like, share, and subscribe. We want more like-minded fans here with us to talk about our 4 teams, to basically crap talk all of their divisional rivals and ask us questions. We look forward to seeing you next week. And guys, with yet another new thing, we're going to kick off our new outro video, and we will see you next week where the West Side is the best side. Peace!
Yeah! When you feel low, you can still go. Even when you feel slow, you can still go. Even when there's no hope, you can still go. I never answer to no, man, I still go. Go, go.